Okay, so welcome everyone. The Chitkara Spaak Centre for European Multidisciplinary Studies and the Doctoral Research Centre of Chitkara School of Health Science. We are glad to host a masterclass today delivered by Arthur Healy. Arthur Healy heads up EFSA's scientific publishing program. He has worked in publishing for most of his career after his studies in human nutrition and medicine at University College Cork in Ireland. He has spearheaded the recent development of the EFSA Journal, which has seen it blossom from a kind of do-it-yourself publication on EFSA's website to becoming one of the most accessed journals on Wiley Online Library since its launch back in 2016. Thank you very much, Arthur. We're very happy to have you with us, and the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Celia, and my thanks to you all for the kind invitation to address your students. This morning's presentation will focus on a number of aspects of EFSA's work and will provide also a general overview. So this is just a brief outline of what I will present, and it covers the background of EFSA, why it was founded, what it actually is, how it works, and what are the key parts of its cooperation across Europe and indeed worldwide, and very importantly, its role in European risk communication. So I'll kick off with the first one of those as to what exactly is the European Food Safety Authority. So EFSA is one of about 40 agencies which are decentralized across Europe, and they provide a pool of technical and scientific expertise, which advises the European Commission and the member states on very important topics that impact on the daily life of European citizens. I highlight 4 here, which are based, as I say, across the various member states of the EU, and all of which play key roles in protecting the health of European citizens. I'm referring here, if I take it from the left and going clockwise, the European Medicines Agency, which is based in the Netherlands, the European Centre for Disease Control, which of course has played a very prominent role in the recent COVID pandemic. The European Chemicals Agency based in Finland, and swinging a background to EFSA, which is based here in Parma in Italy. EFSA began its life in 2002 in Brussels, with the remit of providing scientific advice to the so-called risk manager, i.e. those people both at the central European level and also at the national level, who have to take measures to ensure that the food supply of Europe is safe. It was established by an EC regulation back in 2002, and moved to Parma in Italy in 2005. And it's very much located in what the locals refer to in this part of the world as the food valley of Italy, being famed as it is for ham and cheese and various other regional products as well. So EFSA was established in 2002 on the back of a number of food crises which hit Europe around that time. The most famous of these being, of course, the BSE crisis, or mad cow disease, as it was known back then, which pointed to the need for an independent arbiter of food safety for the EU, to ensure that trade disputes were easily settled, and that policy was based on scientific evidence. And of course, to protect the health of European citizens. So it is very much the reference body for the risk assessment of food and feed in the EU. Its remit is very broad, and covers, as the slide indicates, the entire food chain, field to fork. And it encompasses areas such as environmental risk assessment, human nutrition, genetically modified foods, and so on. EFSA doesn't act on its own. Of course, it's part of a network across the member states, and we are working on a pooled model in which the member states lend us their expertise, and on our scientific panels, of which we have 10. And of course, we also work very much hand in hand with the risk manager, i.e. the people, as I say, who are whose role it is to take the measures to protect citizens. So what does EFSA actually do? Well, one of the main things it does, of course, is to provide scientific advice to policymakers on the entire food chain. And one of the key values it has, and one of its of the reasons why it was established in the first place, is that scientific advice is independent, so is free from any bias or any undue influence from the private sector, or indeed national interests. The second pillar of its work, you might say, is risk communication, because of course the citizens of Europe need to be told in a timely fashion what the science behind the decisions that are taken is. And I will go into a little bit more detail on that later on, to tell you the various channels that we use. So the key point here is that EFSA needs to explain the scientific rationale behind policy. The third facet of its work, which it's I think important to highlight, is that EFSA lies at the center of a large hub involving the member states and various other stakeholder bodies when it comes to working as one cohesive network to ensure that food is safe. So this is the classic risk analysis model, which EFSA is more or less based on, and which the entire European food safety model is based on. And it shows quite clearly here, I think, the three facets, i.e. risk management, i.e. those people that mandate EFSA to address various food safety issues. the risk assessment component, which is EFSA's main remit, and then of course the shared responsibility for risk communication. So maybe having said a word about what EFSA does, it's quite important also to understand the division between risk assessment on the one hand, which is the scientific evidence-based part of this food safety model, and the risk management, i.e. those people that have to take decisions to protect not just consumers but trade and the environment and so on, and therefore it's important to understand what EFSA does not do. So policy generation is not within our remit, in the same way as legislation is not. We are not a legislator. We do not adopt any rules or laws regarding putting something, putting a new product, for example, on the single market. And we do not enforce the legislation. So we are not going around to visit anyone to ensure that that they are upholding the food safety legislation. And so again, you can see that this separation between risk assessment on the one hand and risk management on the other is very, very important. So like all organizations, we are based on a set of values which guide our work. These have emerged as becoming the key values for us over the years. But bearing in mind that EFSA is 20 years old this year, and so indeed the first one of those is of course being excellent in science. So making sure that we have access not just to the best scientists in Europe, but also the best data and the best methodologies as well. Innovation is something that's important to us because, of course, risk assessment is a field of science in itself, and as the technology changes, and for example the massive increase in data that have become available over the past decade or so, then it's quite important for us to be as innovative as we possibly can to ensure that we embrace the best science. We work closely with our counterparts in the member states and a lot of other in international bodies as well. So the whole value of cooperation is very close to our hearts. In independence is there because, of course, we have to always provide objective, unbiased science, and we go through many different hoops to ensure that happens. And of course, we want to be as open as we possibly can. So we strive for example to make sure we can comply with the principles of open science. For example, the EFSA Journal is open access. We make the data that are used in our scientific assessments available via open access platforms according to the FAIR principles and so on. So that's very much a driver of EFSA's work. So again, just to reiterate a little bit of the history. As I say, we were formed in 2002, and it was basically to improve the system that was present before then, to ensure that it was that there was a clear separation between science and policy, and of course the overall drive was to ensure that consumers were fully protected and had confidence in the European food chain. So just a quick glance at where we are at the moment. As I say, we're based here in Parma in Italy. We are probably somewhere between 450 and 500 staff at the moment. It changes from year to year a little bit. And we engage with quite a wide range of experts, mainly in Europe, but occasionally outside Europe as well. And these are the people that populate our scientific panels and working groups. We have a very busy series of meetings every year. So in the pre-pandemic days, of course, it was these were physical meetings here in Parma. So anyone trying to find a hotel room in Parma during the year had a tough task, because EFSA scientists were continually going back and forth for meetings here in the EFSA HQ. Now, of course, we run many more of our meetings virtually. So thus far, we know we have produced in the region of I'd say it's since this slide was put together, we're probably in about 6,500 outputs per since EFSA was established, and these represent individual pieces of advice to the policymakers. And we usually publish about 500 a year in the EFSA Journal. So our funding is divvied up as you can see here. About half of that will always be on staff, which is our greatest investment. The panels and the working groups are supported by our own scientific staff in preparing the scientific advice, drafting, literature searching, and so on. And so we are our resources are always stretched, as both the volume of mandates that we receive and indeed their complexity continue to increase. So how exactly do we work? So a little bit on the mechanics of what of how the EU food safety system works. So basically, if we look to the left hand side of the slide there, we can see that four different bodies have the ability to give EFSA a mandate, i.e. to issue a question on a particular food safety issue. And they being, of course, the European Commission, from which we probably receive about 90% of our work, but also the Parliament in Brussels, in individual member states, and indeed if EFSA sees a need for it, it can do a self-mandate. So we think that there's a gap in knowledge, for example, well, and that needs to be addressed to make sure that that citizens are protected. Well, indeed, we will we mandate ourselves. So once we receive the question, it is assessed here in house, and we decide which of our scientific panels should carry out that work, and that so it is assigned to a particular panel, or occasionally panels if it's a multidisciplinary topic. Um, they will form a working group, which will draft a response. So this is usually in the form of a drafted scientific opinion. And then that will go to one of the panel's plenary meetings. And the panels have in the region of, I would say, depending on the panel, probably 6 to 10 plenary meetings every year. And they decide whether to adopt or the draft of the working group, or to ask for change, and so on. And after adoption, well, then the final part of the process, because your science is not complete until it is communicated. So that's where the work I am currently doing on the EFSA Journal comes in. And also the work of my colleagues who work in the other part of the communications department, such as the press office, social media, and so on. So what are the key components of a scientific assessment? So of course the lifeblood of any risk assessment is the data, and we have many different sources of data, both those which are coming from the private sector, who are in Europe, who are applying to put a product on the market, and they provide us with the data to prove that their product is safe and effective. Or we do public calls for data on various topics, and we will also mine the scientific literature for data from the science that has already been published. One of the newer sources of data, of course, is the citizen, him or herself, because the whole movement around citizen science, which is important in areas of plant health and so on, is of growing importance. So the public can, for example, alert EFSA as towards the presence of an invasive plant species, and so on. And so it all helps us to build the picture that will inform the scientific assessment. The second kind of pillar of the second tool, if you like, are of course the methodologies and the protocols and so on that EFSA develops to carry out the assessment. And like the data, we make a lot of these available through our open data platform, which is called the Knowledge Junction, which is based on the Zenodo Open Science and Open Data platform. The third component, of course, is that you must have the knowledge and the expertise in place to ensure that you are carrying out the assessment in the most rigorous manner that you can achieve. And so the scientists that on our own staff here at EFSA, but also on the panels and working groups, are critical to our ability to work. So just a quick word on data then. As it says here, they are the lifeblood of the risk assessment. and the sheer volume of data that science is producing is drastically increasing over the years, and also the literature grows. And of course, one of the key things we have to explain to our readers often is uh, the data we have selected in our risk assessment, and those that we have not selected. So that's that's a very important aspect of the way we publish the results of our assessments. Um, Methods is, of course, is making sure we apply the right method. Um, and the people, well, just that's a slightly older picture of some of the EFSA staff here at our HQ in Parma. Now, when it comes to the external and indeed the internal scientific expertise at our disposal, we're organized as the slide here indicates. Um, the overarching body that oversees the work of our panels and working groups is the EFSA Scientific Committee, which is currently chaired by Professor Simon Moore, and their role is to provide a kind of a transversal oversight of how the scientific assessments are carried out across the 10 panels to ensure that they are consistent. They provide a lot of guidance in this area, of course, and they also look at the horizon. They scan the horizon to see what are the newer risks that are emerging, and what EFSA needs to do to ensure that it can properly assess those risks. As I say, we have 10 scientific panels at the moment across the various fields of science related to the food chain. These are usually comprised of somewhere around 20 leading scientists from across Europe. And their job is indeed to adopt the scientific advice which the working groups have put in place. And then of course we have our own staff that support those panels with the various tasks needed, protocols, data, and so on. And they also can produce advice on their own, which doesn't require the input of the panels. And indeed, you know, the EFSA's founding legislation makes it clear when the panel should be involved. And of course, they also play a key role with us in making sure that the science is effectively communicated. So how are these experts selected? So the panels are renewed every 3 years. And EFSA issues an open call across the member states, and then there's a very rigorous procedure to ensure that we are selecting the best science that we have scientists we have available. Also to ensure that they can provide independent advice. As I say, that's a critical part of our work. And you know the process is also very transparent, where we look for example at the publication records of the scientists and so on. And these mandates can also be renewed. I can't remember at the moment whether it's once or twice, so that, you know, when a panel changes, that you don't have to renew the entire panel each time, and that there is some continuity between the previous panel and the newer one. So this slide here indicates which fields of science the panels cover, and you can see indeed that they are quite it's quite a broad range, and it does indeed cover the entire food chain. And of course, at the center of all that, you've got the scientific committee, which is providing providing scientific advice and a harmonized approach across all the panels to ensure that that we are consistent, and that actually is very important, because of course there are issues like scientific uncertainty, which indeed, you know, science is never black and white, and no matter how good your science is, there will always be data gaps, and there will be certain gaps in knowledge as well. And in increasingly over the years, to ensure that you know, that the scientists that the risk manager, the policymakers are quite clear where the data are lacking, because of course science in some areas is emerging the whole time, and of course we usually revisit an assessment after a certain period of time as well. So that's kind of the routine work. On top of all that, of course, we can get very urgent requests if there is a food crisis in somewhere in Europe. We do have a rapid response mechanism, and indeed we back in 2020, as the pandemic emerged, we were asked to provide advice on, for example, the chances of COVID being transmitted via food, and so on. And so this usually means that we issue advice in days or weeks, rather than in the months where it you know, it takes to provide a more considered response. So again, just a note on EFSA's independence. We are independent from the policymaker, the risk manager, even though we have to work closely with them to ensure that that we are addressing the question that they have asked us, that the question is framed in a meaningful manner, and so on. And of course, we're also free from private interests, and much of our work on independence is ensuring that the scientists we have in our panels and working groups don't have any competing interests in that regard. And this is built into indeed to our working processes via our management board, and we have a load of operating procedures and work in instructions to ensure indeed that that the risk of any undue influence or bias in our work is limited. So we are currently in a a process of change at EFSA, of course, because there was a piece of legislation which reviewed the EFSA founding regulation of 2002. Um, so we are currently about to change and to become even more transparent in the way we are working. So, for example, the EFSA Management Board, as we speak here at the start of June, has 15 members acting on a personal capacity, and these people are appointed by the council. And of course, we have a member of the commission in there as well. And these are to ensure that we are being effective and efficient and making good use of our resources. But that also that we are not straying outside our remit, because of course the food chain is a very broad concept, and it touches on a lot of areas which so some of which are within our remit, and some of course which are not. But of course, as of July, that will change, and we are moving to a different model, whereby the management board will contain a representative of all the EU member states, also representatives from the Commission, the Parliament, and also the various trade bodies who that have a stake in our work. So that will be quite an important change for us that was brought about by this review of the General Food Law, which was carried out in 2018. And that has introduced some important changes in the way we work. And it will require for example, EFSA to create a database of studies that are used to support the entry of a product to the European market. And this will allow the public at large to go in and look at these the science that lies behind a product. It will increase the number of public consultations that we are carrying out. And the key thing here is that the companies that are applying to put a product on the market will have to ensure that all the relevant information is available to the public at large. So if for example your research shows that it has a negative outcome, that something doesn't work, we have to ensure that all those are available to the public, as well as those that show that perhaps a product is effective. So that's just a new safeguard that we are building into the process. It also gives us the capacity to procure work. So if we think the data are a little bit too uncertain for us to make a scientific assessment, well then we can commission our own work on a topic, and that is quite an important departure for us, because you know, people that visit EFSA here in Parma often ask us where our labs are, and of course we haven't got labs. But as of 2021, when this legislation came into effect, we do have the ability to commission work. So just I won't dwell too long on this, but again, it gives a good overview of the system, which whereby the independence of the science is guaranteed. Um, and this includes various things like the mandates are available through the EFSA website, the procedures by which we select working group members and so on, are publicly available, and the names of those working group and panel members, of course, are. Um, we have a very involved system for declaring interests, both on an annual basis and also before meetings, and uh, to check that there is nothing on the agenda which might cause any competing interest for anyone on the panel or working group. We publish agendas and minutes. We make our data open as much as we possibly can. There are occasions where, of course, when something will be commercially confidential, and we are restrained from publishing those. But it's it has to be a good case in future for, you know, for the private sector to make that case. We have open panel meetings in which the public at large can participate. We hold a lot of and an increasing number of public consultations on our scientific advice. And of course, we've quite a comprehensive series of communications on important food safety topics via the website, social media, and so on. So again, as I said, we're at the center of a network. These are both with the scientific community, with the national food safety agencies across the member states. We're also very much plugged into what our international counterparts are doing, and we have a lot of memoranda of understanding with various scientific organizations, and many networks into research institutions worldwide. So as you can see, this slide needs to be updated from whence the UK has of course left the EU since 2021. I guess it was formalized, but it just gives you an overview of the national food safety agencies, and also the many research institutions across Europe. And of course, we have very strong ties to the member states, and the most formal channel for that is via the EFSA Advisory Forum, which has representatives from the 27 member states and the EEA countries also. Also outside Europe, where we have many partners and a lot of cooperation agreements signed over the past 20 years, because of course food safety is a global it's a global issue. It doesn't recognize national borders. The EU market is very open, so we are trading with countries from across the world, and it's important that they have a full knowledge of the standards that Europe expects in food, and so on. And likewise for EU countries, of course, who export outside the union, it is important that those countries have trust in the food that's coming from Europe. As I say, we have many stakeholders in our work, and this goes from the farmers, on the one hand, to the food industry itself, to the consumers, and so on. And so we have a lot of contact with all those groups, and we also have an official stakeholder platform whereby they can make their views known to us, as well. So coming on to my own area of operation is risk communication, of course. And the whole point of this is to bridge the gap between science and the consumer. And so it's ensured that there's a consistent message being given to consumers across Europe, both at that the message for people in Western Europe is the same as that in Eastern Europe, and North and South, and so on. And also it's important for EFSA in its communication to understand what the various perceptions of risk in relation to food are, because of course Europe is quite diverse, and for example, one part of Europe may be concerned about pesticide residues in food, or something like that, whereas others might be more taken up with the issues, we say, surrounding plant health or animal welfare or such. Yeah, and the important point here is, of course, that the communication is clear, that it's understandable by the public at large, and that it's giving a consistent message to the diverse audiences across Europe. These are if you like, the various stakeholders in our risk communication, and they can vary, as you can see in this slide, from the actual the citizen, him or herself, through to policymakers, and so on, and of course to the scientific community itself, because we are very much embedded in the world of science, of course, and it is important that our work is visible and consistent, and so on, to ensure that scientists can continue to engage with us. And of course, the media is a very important multiplier when it comes to food safety messages. And so we work closely with the media to explain our work. The various channels we use are given here. So for example, speaking of the scientific community, the EFSA Journal, of course, is the key channel there, which has been published with the support of Wiley with the past 6 years. And that is a very important outreach tool among the scientific world. but of course we also have the public at large via the EFSA website, and we are increasingly using a multimedia approach there. So we're videos, infographics, and the data visualization tools are becoming an increasingly important part of that. We have a small team dedicated to media relations, so that kind of answered the questions on public health and food safety, which the media have an interest in. And of course social media is an increasingly important part of that. We are the other tool, of course, to in which we interact with the scientific community are through attendance of our staff at scientific events, and being embedded into the various scientific networks across Europe as well. So our social media accounts are mainly through Twitter, of course, and we are in increasing our presence there since back in the first account was opened, I think, in 2012. We have a YouTube channel in which our EFSA, our scientists explain a piece of science in what we hope is an accessible manner, and that indeed the usage of that is growing the whole time. We often back that up with quick videos of scientists and working group and panels, whereby they give a brief update on work on a topic, just to make sure the public are aware of the progress in a piece of science. And we are looking at various other tools as well, including podcasts, which we hope to launch next year. And of course, we have a LinkedIn account, which is quite active, and we also our work is also shared a lot on, for example, scientific social media, such as ResearchGate. So that just to indicate the EFSA Journal here, which is our main channel into the scientific community. It is in increasing its visibility and impact, and we're every year we have double-digit growth in the number of downloads of EFSA articles, in the number of citations, and indeed on the impact it has on, for example, social media. So we also monitor the online effect of our work via tools like altmetrics, and these are of course newer tools, but they help to fill in the picture. Just a word that we do work again with our communications colleagues across the member states, and we have a very close network here, which is good at in ensuring that the messages given to consumers is consistent, and that it is appropriate for the national audiences. And of course we try to communicate in as many European languages as we possibly can, and we are making strides in that in recent years by using we have increased the number of languages that we communicate in, and we've made various translation tools also available to the public. So just a quick look at what we think the future challenges will be. The context, as we say here, is changing. So we have to be more transparent and engage more as public expectations in public science, you might call it, it changes as well. There is, from a scientific point of view, the fields of science move on the whole time, and of course the technologies improve, and so we have to make sure that we are up to speed there. There are new risks there and hazards that emerge the whole time from the food chain. So some of that is simply linked to the fact that we live in a very globalized world, where food is transported from one side of the world to the other, and so it is important to bear that in mind, and to be prepared for any challenges that to food safety that will of course bring. And again, of course, one of the challenges for EFSA is to make sure that it has access to the most to the best, and also the most informed scientific knowledge and expertise that it can find. Just a quick overview of some of the scientific challenges lying ahead. Be health is something that we have invested a lot of our time on in recent years, because of course the decrease in the number of pollinators is very is of great concern to food safety and indeed to food security worldwide. And again, the technology is producing novel foods and not novel ways of producing foods. Nanoscience, for example, has been emerging for the past number of decades. So it's important that we have the tools in place to assess those, to ensure they're safe. And just to mention another one, which is of great global health concern, of course, is antimicrobial resistance. So we have to ensure on a global level that we are using antimicrobials in a safe and sustainable manner. Because of course these are not just used in agriculture, but are used to fight human diseases as well. And every year we produce a quite a larger report, which shows how antimicrobial resistance is evolving in Europe. So again, getting back to these 5 values, which I outlined at the start, these are the building blocks that we will use to tackle the challenges in the future. And just before I finish the presentation, just a quick line on how you can engage with us. So thank you very much, and I'd be very happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Arthur. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
you are
okay.
indeed, Celia.
Thank you very much for taking us through the journey of EFSA and explaining most of the work the agency does. It was very interesting. Indeed, we have several questions from different topics. So I will open the round of questions with a broader and maybe a blunt question. But until today, what has been the biggest challenge that EFSA has had to manage?
Yes, that is indeed a tough one, I have to say. The I guess, I mean, I would look at EFSA as sort of if you looked at it from a business point of view, that we have been kind of in the startup phase, if you like. EFSA was, because if you consider that EFSA was established in 2002, it takes quite some years to develop the systems, the networks, putting the, we say, the cooperation mechanisms in place to ensure that we are fully embedded in all aspects of the food chain, that we have access to data, that we have access to expertise, and that we have also developed the protocols and so on here internally. And I think we've probably reached a cruising speed or height with the enactment of the last piece of legislation, when the general food law was reviewed. And I think we are now better positioned to face into the future, which of course for any field of science is always quite uncertain. But I think it gives us both the resources and tools to be able to address, you know, the complexities of science that are emerging. Because of course, in the backdrop of all this, you have climate change, you have the environment, and so on. And we are now beginning to work more in a one health type of approach, whereby we're not just looking at food safety as simply the safety of the product or the food on one's plate, but how is that interacting with the environment? How is it interacting with plant health, and of course with the veterinary issues that exist as well. So I think we have emerged in recent years, as I say, better able to address these types of complexities.
Thank you, Arthur. I think your presentation really took us in this EFSA's journey that showed the multiplication that has been occurring in terms of visibility, also in the scope of approach and impact. And as you say, you're trying to gather for all the complexities with a One Health approach, so not leaving any relevant subject behind, which was very, very interesting. Then the next question we have is in relation with your coordination with the European Commission. So in the beginning of your talk, you mentioned field to fork when introducing the roles of EFSA. So did EFSA play a key role in defining the European Commission farm to fork strategy?
Yes, I'm probably not the best person, but I'm not best placed in EFSA to answer that question. Would probably be the short answer, but certainly yes. As I recall, EFSA did have its did contribute to it.
Well, thank you, Arthur. Then we have a bit of a hot topic, and we have a few questions on conflict of interests. I'm sure this must be common.
Yes.
So regarding the nature of EFSA. So does EFSA scientific advice has political implications? And how hard is it to find a compromise between the scientific data on one side and the public socioeconomic interests on the other?
Yes. Well, again, gets back to that model, you know, that I presented there, and it is, you know, EFSA's work is scientific in nature. Okay, so we are dealing with the hard science, the data, and we will always be led by the data and the science. And as I say, we go to quite extreme lengths, some people would say, to ensure that our work is free from any kind of bias. But at the same time, we are aware that we don't live in some kind of an ivory tower. You know, that the scientific assessments that we produce, indeed, they do have a lot of knock-on effects, be it for the private sector or be it for consumers. So we are very aware of that, which is indeed why, for example, you know, even though we are separated from the policymaker, it doesn't mean we actually don't talk to them. Because we have to, you know, because it is important for us, as I say, to ensure that, you know, when a risk manager gives us a mandate to carry out a certain piece of work, that is framed in a manner which you know takes the bigger picture into account, let's say, and to make sure we have a shared understanding of the scope of the mandate and so on. So we actually do a lot of work there to make sure, you know, that the consumer is protected as much as possible. In the same way, we engage a lot with the stakeholders, be that the citizen who has an interest in our work, or be it the media or the farmer, you know, and so on. So we are very much at the center of the circle, and of course there are various pressures that emerge from being in that role as well. But I think over the years we have learned well how to manage the pressures. So, you know, we are not, you know, immune to criticism for sure, and that's been clear over the years. But we have always ensured as much as we possibly can that, you know, that we have an evidence-based approach, and that really is the single most important thing for us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we think it is much needed to have this transparency and this evidence-based approach, especially nowadays. And now we have a set of questions regarding third countries and external partners that EFSA might have. The first one touches on Brexit. Does the UK continue listening to EFSA's advice, or is it reverting to having its own UK assessments?
Yes, again, maybe that's a question which might be best addressed elsewhere. But from my own knowledge of the field, I think the UK has taken over a whole draft of EU legislation during the Brexit process, and has enshrined that more or less in its own laws. Now, whether it will diverge from that in the future, I don't have any crystal ball there. I'm afraid to say, and I guess it depends on the political environment that emerges in the UK over the coming years. But you know, we should bear in mind that the UK has played an important role in the EU up to now, and that it has helped to ensure the high level of food safety which the European citizen can expect. And I think it in its future vision as a global trader, well then I can't see any reason why it would really diverge in any meaningful manner from that approach.
So what we will have to wait and see.
There's a certain amount of that there, yes.
Yes. Then regarding international organizations, does EFSA coordinate with the World Health Organization before issuing a scientific assessment on food safety?
Well, EFSA is part of the Codex system also, we must bear in mind that EFSA's role is to assess risks in relation to the European population, and so that's what EFSA is focused on. So while it has links, of course, to the WHO and so on, and we have various cooperation activities taking place with them. It's important to understand the role of EFSA as an EU food safety assessment body, as distinct from that of WHO, of course, who have a more global role.
True. Then we have a last question. I think this will be more on a personal level, as it addresses your journalistic and publishing background and expertise. Sure. So first of all, to mention that your advocacy for open access and open data has been very admiring when you were mentioning it during the presentation. This has a huge trickle-down effects you were mentioning just a few minutes ago, from transparency to contributing to quality research for the private sector, also you mentioned. So our question is, has it been difficult for you to take EFSA's journal from a kind of intranet product to where you currently are, which represents a huge milestone?
Well, yes, it was quite a challenging piece of work. If you can consider that at that stage, the interactions between, we'll say, the EU bodies overall and the commercial publishing world had not been very well defined, let's say. And of course, EFSA to make sure that its science can be found and cited and so on, and also that it had an impact. These were goals that could never really be achieved via its own website, because it simply wasn't plugged in, you might say, to the publishing world, you know, in terms of linking the EFSA science to the corpus of global science. And so that was an important achievement for us, of course. The other very simple thing is that it made us more efficient and improved the quality of the final product. Because you know, you can have the best science in the world, and if it's not well presented, if it's not easy to find, if it's not easy to cite and so on, well then you won't have the desired impact. So I would say yes, it required a change in mindset a little bit as well, and you lose a certain amount of control over things, simple things, even like timing and so on. But the journal, the results of it have been very positive indeed for us.
Thank you, Arthur. That was our last question. And thank you for answering every question with detail. I will now invite Dr. Meenakshi from Chitkara University to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Celia, for giving me the opportunity. And let me introduce myself, Professor Arthur Healy. I am Dr. Meenakshi and I am the coordinator of Jean Monnet project, the one on EUHEALTH. And it would have been our good fortune to our students as well, the participants, to have interacted with you live, but that was not to be. But I'm very sure once we share the recording of today's lecture with them, they are going to have, they'll enjoy the session and they'll also come up with some questions which probably we are going to share with you through mail. Stefano can do that and you can answer to their queries. And thank you for finding time once again for this recording. I'm very sure you must have tried very hard yesterday to, come up live, but technology has its own glitches. Anyway, thank you very much for joining in today and enlightening us on this important topic. Thank you from our side, all of us at India. Thanks very much. I'll just let Stefano have the last word. Stefano, over to you.
I think that I will just actually say thank you, and I will keep it actually simple. It was I would say honor to actually host you, and we hope to actually see you soon here.
Next year.
Next year in India.
Sure.
Okay. Well, thanks for the invite to EFSA, and for us it's always a pleasure to explain to the world what EFSA does and what we are about. So it's been very good to have this exchange for us also.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.